Today I'm sharing what I have learned about overcoming imposter syndrome. That feeling like you're talking out of your arse and pretty soon someone is going to call you out on it and expose you as a fraud and a bullshitter. I've got 9 tips coming up. Let's go. Hi guys, it's Laura from How to Get Your Shit Together, and I help people get organized, get motivated, and just generally live simpler, happier lives. So if that sounds like something that is right up your street, then go ahead and click that subscribe button. And I also have a free imposter syndrome printable for you, so check out the description box where you can find the download details. So first off, if you suffer from imposter syndrome, congratulations, you're not a dick. It's when you think you know everything that you have to start worrying, because that's when you're full of shit. For people who maybe haven't heard of the expression imposter syndrome before, it is basically when you feel like a fraud, when you experience feelings of self-doubt, wondering why anyone would listen to you or take you seriously, feeling like you're about to be found out, negatively comparing yourself to other people, having low self-esteem or feelings of self-worth, believing that everyone else is succeeding or winning and you are falling behind, thinking everything you've achieved was just down to dumb luck, etc. I think if we're being honest, we've probably all felt that way at least once in our lives. I know I have, regularly. And look, feeling it every now and again is all part of the great human experience. But if you are feeling it on a consistent basis, it can start to be a big problem. You'll feel anxious and stressed. You'll self-sabotage because you'll feel that you're just not good enough, and then your brain will subconsciously try and find ways to prove you're right. You'll underperform. You'll turn down great opportunities because you think you don't deserve them, or you'll just mess them up. You'll never reach your full potential because you will never believe or accept that you are capable of so much more. In short, you'll live a half life, but I am here to change that. As I said at the outset, if you suffer from imposter syndrome, you are perfectly normal. But if it is starting to take over your life, then here are some practical ways that you can combat it. 1. Stop comparing yourself to others. I have a whole video on this, which is great, even if I do say so myself. But if this is something that you struggle with, then I will link it in the description box below. You can go check it out. But a great way to do it is to start reducing the amount of time that you spend on social media and or unfollowing accounts that make you feel like shit. I followed Martha Stewart on Instagram and Facebook a while back. Unfollowed pretty quickly, I can tell you that. Comparing yourself to someone else's best snippets is madness. Your life is richer than a picture or a post. So go out there and live it rather than just sitting at home wishing you had someone else's life. Believe me, despite what they tell you, they did not wake up like that. 2. Remind yourself frequently of all that you have achieved. Note down all of your successes to date and get into the habit of writing them all down from here on out. This goes a long way to helping you separate your feelings from the facts. When I started doing my monthly reviews, I frequently felt like I had had a bad, unproductive month. But when I sat down and actually looked back over everything, I was always surprised by how much I had actually achieved. I'm still surprised every single month. Another thing I do, and I'm only slightly embarrassed to admit it, is I keep a feel-good folder on my laptop. Anytime someone leaves me a particularly lovely comment or messages me to say that I have helped them in some way, I screenshot it and I pop it in the folder. And then anytime that I feel that no one cares what I have to say, or that what I'm doing is totally pointless and wondering why anyone would ever listen to me, I scroll through the messages in there. In their own way, they're all my little success stories too. 3. Accept that you have a role in your successes. Sure, someone else may have helped you along the way, but the success and the achievement is still yours. You made it happen. So focus on the internal reasons, the hard work, the persistence, the patience, the determination. If you focus on what you are putting in, you'll start to see how much of a hand you have in your successes. 4. Celebrate your successes. As a sufferer of imposter syndrome myself, I know how easy it is to just sweep something under the carpet, put it down to just look, or to completely ignore or deflect a compliment, to imagine that everyone is thinking negative thoughts about you. But the more you celebrate, the more you realize there is to celebrate. When someone says thank you or pays you a compliment, Really listen, pay attention to all of the things that are going right. When someone asks you a question or asks you for help, understand that they're asking you because they feel you are the right person to ask. And again, writing all these things down is great because it is physical proof. Memories will fade, and depending on your mood, it might taint the experience looking back. But a written record taken at the time doesn't lie. You'll find that you'll quickly be able to train your brain to look out for the positives, to focus on all the things you did do rather than the things you didn't. 5. Remember where you started. There are lots of things you do without even thinking. But at one point in your life, it was a completely new experience to you, and you may have struggled with it. So think back to the first time you learned to drive a car, or when you first learned to cook a certain dish, or when you started a new job. You don't even realize how much you know until you remember how much you didn't. You've got experience now. You know things either through learning or just good old-fashioned living that somebody else doesn't know, that younger you didn't know. You're like Liam Neeson. You have a particular set of skills. When you get to the stage where you are drop-kicking people in the face without even having to think about it, you forget that at one point you couldn't even throw a decent punch. You've come a long way. You didn't just go from 0 to 100 overnight. You've gone through a process to get where you are. 6. Be genuine and honest, both with yourself and with other people. If you don't know, say it. People will respect that much more than if you try to bullshit them. Say you don't know, but you can find out. Or you don't know, but here's someone who does. Or you don't know for sure, but this is what has worked for you, or this is what hasn't worked. Or you have heard that this is what has worked for other people. Or here's a great resource where they can find more information. Pointing someone in the right direction can be just as valuable as actually knowing the information yourself, and it's definitely more valuable than giving bad advice. So sometimes people stop me in the street for directions, and I may not know exactly how to get there, but I can point them in the general direction, and then I will tell them where they can find someone else who will get them the rest of the way. So maybe a local takeaway where all the drivers will know the local area, or a tourist office where they will have tickets and opening hours and maps. When you accept and acknowledge that there are things that you don't know, but there are also lots of things that you do know, you stop feeling like an imposter because you know you're not trying to fool anyone. You're not afraid of being caught out. Which leads me to 7. It's okay to make mistakes. Being wrong about something or making a mistake does not make you an imposter. It makes you perfectly normal. The top basketball players in the world miss more shots than they sink, but they are still world class. The best CEOs regularly make decisions that lose their companies lots of money. The best scientists in the world have failed experiments. Shit happens. Remember how many things you're not getting wrong. If a mistake makes you feel bad, it's because it's not like you. It's not something that you normally do. And again, writing down all of your successes will really help put some perspective on the occasional slip up. I have another video on the fear of failure, so if that's something you're interested in, I will link it below and you can have a look at that. 8. Focus on helping people. Nobody expects you to know everything about everything, but if you can maybe point someone in the direction of where they can find some more information, that makes you valuable. There are things you know that others don't know, and there are things you have that others don't have. If you share a little of what you have with them, whether it be through a seminar or even doing some volunteer work or whatever, again, that makes you valuable. Even when I'm feeling like I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, or that I'm totally out of my depth, a teeny tiny fish in a big giant ocean of authorities and influencers, I scroll back through my feel-good folder and I remember that I'm helping people. Do you know the story about the starfish who washed up on the shore and they were about to die because they'd been out of the water for too long? Thousands and thousands of them, but there was an old lady who was picking them up one by one and throwing them back into the sea. And then a passerby remarked that there were far too many for her to make a difference, and she paused for a second and she thought, and she picked up another starfish and threw it back into the sea, and then she replied, "It made a difference to that one." You don't have to change the whole world, but if you can change one person's world, that will make all the difference to them. 9. Accept it without letting it stop you. In a funny way, having imposter syndrome can be a good thing because, as I said at the outset, it means you're not a narcissistic prick. And as well as that, it generally only strikes high achievers and people with big dreams, because if you weren't pushing yourself, you wouldn't be worried about living up to expectations. You are right up there with some of the world's most talented and respected people. Nobel laureate Maya Angelou was a respected author, a lauded author, but she always felt like she was about to be found out. And Dr. Chan, chief of the World Health Organization, couldn't understand why so many people saw her as an expert. If you never feel like you're stretching your capabilities, it's probably because you're not doing anything with your life. So feeling like an imposter isn't all that bad. It means you're playing in the big leagues. And if you have followed all of the above advice, you'll know that you deserve to be there. And that is a wrap. Whew, that was a long one. But hopefully you thought it was chock full of great advice. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below, what is the one symptom of imposter syndrome that you struggle with the most? For me, it's remembering where I started. I can easily get frustrated if I feel like I'm not making enough progress on something. So I have to constantly remind myself, and my friends do it too, that not so long ago, I didn't even know how to do it at all. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because I upload new videos every Thursday to help you live a simpler, happier life. The button looks like this, and you will find it down there. And check out the description box below for the link to the free printable I have for you, as well as the videos on how to stop comparing yourself to other people and how to overcome the fear of failure. Until next time, cur míle maith agaibh, agus feici mé sibh go luath. Slán!